Everyone, it's Aesah, and welcome to my guide on Vertical Anima Squad. I think this comp is extremely strong right now. Of course, it's PvE, so anything can change. But it's also very straightforward to play, and that will not change. So I really like this comp. I've been playing a lot and having good success with it. I like this comp because it kind of follows all the fundamentals of TFT and has a really strong progression curve as a good mix of units from cheap units to expensive units. um, Namely, you can use your early game AP holders, Seraphine, maybe even a 1-star Yumi, and eventually move it to Aurora in the late game. These will all hold the same units. And you can do the same thing with Vayne, holding the same items for Xayah in the late game. So it's like a pretty natural transition. You have a lot of cheap units, you have a lot of expensive units, and you have an AP carry, an AD carry, and then a tank. So personally, I think the Anima Squad items are not that well balanced right now. I'm not sure if they're going to do another pass. I think the developers are overvaluing the area of effect damage. So generally, I think the Anima Squad items that deal single target are superior. But otherwise, you can always pick the weapon that you have the correct penetration for. So if you have Even Shroud, you can go for the physical weapons, and if you have Spark or Shiv, you can go for the magic weapons. Um, but basically, I think Anima Squad is best played from tempo, just because there's a lot of cheap units and your weapons scale off the start level. You don't really want to just pivot into this late game because you're not going to have all the cheap units start up. So there's 2-1 cost and 2-2 cost, so it's actually pretty easy to get the opener for this. You just need any 3 of these units. You might even find a Yumi, and because Anima Squad is primarily an offensive trait, it does give magic resist and armor, but not that much. If you compare like 7 Anima Squad, gives you 30 armor and MR, compared to that just Bastion. With only 2 Bastion units, you're getting more than that on Bastions. So again, there's some defensive component, but Anima Squad is mostly an offensive trait. The weapons only do damage, none of them give you any defensive. So because of that, you really, really, really want a strong tank, which is more important than a strong carry in this comp. Basically, you could kind of think of it as you're investing your resources of your units all into damage, and you want a good mix of damage and frontline. So eventually, your tank is going to be Leota, but early on, you could either use Bastion or Vanguard, and it doesn't have to be the Anima Squad unit. Again, the Anima Squad unit will get a little bit of extra magic resist and armor, but at 3, it's only 10, so it's not very impactful. For example, let's say you have a Silas 1, and then you have a Vi 2. It's going to be a lot better to itemize a Vi. In fact, it doesn't even have to be a 2-star Vi. For example, maybe you just have a 3-cost Vanguard. Maybe you have like a Jarvan here. Jarvan's kind of nice to also give Slayer to Vayne if you're doing the AD carry. So itemizing Jarvan in this case would be better. In fact, if we real quick just look at the unit stats, Silas, even with the extra 10 armor and MR from Anima Squad, would just be at 50, whereas Jarvan would also be at 50. So they're actually the same, but Jarvan has more health. All right. So yeah, again, pretty easy to play the opener. Anima Squad by itself solves your damage problems, so index heavily in frontline items. For AD items, Infinity Edge is really important on Xayah. Eventually, you're gonna want to build towards Xayah items. Vayne is just your item holder. So while Hurricane and Rageblade are both really good on Vayne, they stack 3 times or shoot 3 bolts whenever she ults. Neither of these items are very good on Xayah. So if you have the choice, when you're playing a standard build, um, your your early game tempo matters, but it's much more important to have better Xayah items because that's when you start losing a lot of HP for taking losses. You can also use flex items. So let's say if you open with like an AP opener here, for example, something like this. If you have some flex items like Giant Slayer, Xayah can use Shojin because she does most of her damage through her ultimate or guard breaker. These are kind of like flexible items where you can even open AP and then move them to an AD carry later. But otherwise, if you open, you can open full AP items and then carry them on Yuumi and then eventually Aurora. So yeah, your transition would be like Seraphine to Yuumi, and then eventually to Aurora. So you can use like AP items here and slowly transition them up throughout the game. And yeah, AD items, your best item is going to be Infinity Edge. Uh, Having Shred, Magic Shred, or um, Armor Sunder, either one is going to be really valuable, especially because it will also benefit your Anima Squad weapon. So Last Whisper is going to be good. And then just Anima Squad gives a little bit of damage amp. It's not a ton, but it'll make Guardbreaker and Giant Slayer slightly worse than they normally would be. They're still going to be very good. So like getting some AD and with Deathblade is going to be good. Getting some attack speed with like red buff is good. But yeah, Rageblade is not that good because Xayah has a low cast animation, which she's not stacking Rageblade during it. And then Hurricane's not that good either because she's a lot of her power is in her ultimate ability, and Hurricane is mostly good for champions that auto attack a lot. So yeah, eventually you'll just slowly add in more Anima Squad tiers. There's a 5 Anima Squad, so of course maybe on stage 3 you have these 4 units, and then maybe you find Yuumi, and then at level 6 maybe you'll play another Bastion or Vanguard to kind of give you yourself some frontline. So yeah, just any Bastion, any Vanguard, totally fine here. On level 8, when you roll down, you're really going to want to try to hit 7 Anima Squad. You actually have to hit all the units, except for Aurora, to actually fight this. Having the Emblem is really nice here because quite a few of these units are not very valuable, like Seraphine only does damage, Vayne only does damage without items. It's a 1 cost and a 2 cost. These units can very easily be cut. So having an Emblem is very nice. It also makes it so you can hit the 7 Anima Squad breakpoint faster without having to fight both of these units. Of course, when you do hit Aurora, you can just replace either one of these. Neither of them are that useful. So again, this is our level 8 board, so we have an extra slot open. We do have 1 out of 2 Bastion, so we could use like a Redacted, which gives a nice team-wide buff and it's just a good unit by himself. If you find like a Sejuani too, that's going to be pretty nice. Garen is always like a good one of trait. You could give himself Anima Squad, you could give himself Vanguard, but more importantly, when you level up, then you might be able to give other traits to units. For example, Nico is going to be really good. Yuumi has Strategist, so Strategist is just like a good T-White trait with Eddie Cop. And notice a lot of these other good units that fit in are frontliners. Again, 7 Anima Squad kind of solves your damage problem by itself. Not completely by itself, you're definitely still going to need a sub carry for sure. But having more frontline is good. So like Strategist, so they could give Strategist to your Ray carry, for example. So yeah, basically, eventually you'll want to be carrying Xayah. She's gonna be your main carry, ideally. Again, you can start with AP items as long as you also get Xayah online. Yeah, whatever items you use here. Maybe we also have some items on Yuumi that we can eventually move to Aurora. Aurora's gonna be really good at spreading anti-heal. She hits most units in the line anywhere on the board. And she gives herself a lot of attack speed, so she actually gets her second cast pretty fast. So her first cast oftentimes doesn't hit the enemy backline, but that's okay. Her second cast will come in soon. One thing to notice about the front line is Silas and Leona are a trait pair. Vanguard. Leona is actually really nice because she has Anima Squad and Vanguard, giving her resist and the shield. So she actually kind of has like a double defensive trait in a way. Obviously, Anima Squad, as we've been talking about, is mostly offensive. But Leona is just a unit you can naturally itemize. Of course, if you hit a Nico 2 or Sejuani 2, you still have Leona 1, you could itemize them instead. And you could just kind of prioritize the components for your front line. and you kind of use your leftovers, or prioritize your backline items. They're more finicky, and you can use any leftovers on your front line. Warmogs is going to probably be the best thing you can have, but like any of these are going to be fine. Declaw, Bramble, this thing, Val, Steadfast Heart. Any of these are going to be good. If you have some utility items, let's say you have like Redemption, Spark, and Sunfire Cape, for example, I would want to put these on an off tank that doesn't get aggro first. So let's say I have a 2-star Leota and a 1-star Nico. I might position stuff like this. So most enemy boards, most of their anything in this entire thing is going to be targeting your Leona first. Let's put Zaya in the corner to protect her. And if they are on the left side, at least there's 2 units over here that they have to choose through before they get to your Nico, holding your utility. That's going to wrap it up on this video for 7 Anima Squad. Again, I think this comp is really, really strong right now. So if we don't see too many changes to it from PPE, it's a good comp to learn. If you have any questions, let me know in the Discord, and thanks for watching.